The film opens with the appearance of a female psychiatrist named Dr. Mariko, who is on her way home and trying to catch a bus in front of the station. Unfortunately, she misses the bus, and some schoolchildren on the bus laugh at her. Moments later, the bus explodes and Mariko sees a child with severe burns trying to save themselves. Mariko approaches the child and asks for help. Meanwhile, 2 other women nearby seem to be pleased with the terror attack that caused the explosion and the chaos. It is revealed that these 2 women were the masterminds behind the recent bomb attack. Detective Haya and Detective Hirono are assigned to investigate the crime scene of the bus explosion, which they determine was caused by a mysterious terror attack. Upon further examination, they find that some of the bus passengers had their tongues cut off. Detective Haya discusses the case with other police officers and reveals that the suicide bombing may have been predicted by a fortune teller named Kinju. Kinju had previously done a live broadcast predicting a bomb explosion on a bus and claimed to know who was responsible. However, it turns out that he became a victim of the very bomb he had predicted. The police and detectives are having a hard time finding the actual perpetrator because the explosive device used was unusual and was obtained illegally. Haya and Hirono continue their investigation and arrive at a warehouse where they hear a woman scream coming from inside the building. They rush to the door, but when Hirono opens it, a bomb explodes and he is thrown back. Haya enters the warehouse cautiously and finds a man standing in the middle of the rubble with a wound on his head. The man is named Ichiro Suzuki and he is taken to the police station because he is the only person at the scene. While in his cell, Ichiro overhears 2 criminals saying that someone who has killed someone will not be punished. The next day, when Ichiro passes the 2 criminals, he attacks them. 2 police officers try to intervene, but Ichiro has extraordinary strength and they are unable to stop him. Ichiro's attack ends when he successfully removes one of the villain's eyes. Detective Haya, who receives the report of the incident, suspects that Ichiro has mental health issues and orders him to be transferred to a special cell for psychiatric evaluation. Before entering the cell, Ichiro is able to memorize the layout of the prison in a very short time. Several doctors, including Dr. Mariko, are responsible for treating Ichiro in this cell. They find that Ichiro's body is covered in stab wounds and burns and conclude that there is a mechanical disturbance in his brain. During an experiment, Dr. Mariko stabs Ichiro's body with a pin, but he does not react. As they observe him, they notice that Ichiro goes to the toilet exactly 1 hour after eating, every day, even though there are no clocks in the cells or the observation room. Meanwhile, the 2 girls behind the serial murderer are seen in another room. Meet Orikawa and Yuria, the 2 girls involved in the serial murder case, were previously in the same room as Ichiro when the bomb exploded in the warehouse, but they both managed to escape. Meet Orikawa is aware of Ichiro's superpowers and plans to take him away. The next day, Yuria disguises herself as a nurse, puts a bug in Mariko's bag, and makes a copy of her key. As Mariko is about to escort Ichiro to his cell, a young man named Shimura calls out to her. Shimura is Mariko's patient and Ichiro seems to be interested in her presence, staring at him for a long time after he leaves. Mariko becomes curious about Ichiro's background and visits Dr. Aizawa's house, who treated Ichiro as a child. Dr. Aizawa tells Mariko that Ichiro has always looked different from other children his age. Dr. Aizawa explains that Ichiro always behaved like a doll and did not show spontaneous behavior like other humans. He sat quietly in the corner of the room. According to Dr. Aizawa, both of Ichiro's parents died in a hit-and-run accident and he was being cared for by his grandfather, Irishu, who was interested in his grandson's development and asked Dr. Aizawa to observe him. Dr. Aizawa teaches Ichiro to go to the toilet after every meal, and Ichiro follows these instructions. Dr. Aizawa says that Ichiro does not have a brain disorder, but rather an extraordinary brain compared to other humans. He is able to memorize a book and its contents completely by reading it at a glance and can solve complex puzzles in a short amount of time. Dr. Aizawa describes Ichiro's brain power as being like a library with thousands of books and capable of rivaling computer intelligence. He gives Ichiro the nickname the Brain Man. Despite these advantages, Ichiro only eats and urinates when told to do so, rather than doing it himself. After examining Ichiro, Irishu tells Dr. Aizawa to leave and says that he wants to do something to Ichiro. He sends a martial arts expert named Ino to teach Ichiro self-defense. Irishu wants Ichiro to use his powers to eradicate evil on Earth, motivated by his desire for revenge against the hit-and-run perpetrator who killed his son. Thanks to his superpowers, Ichiro is able to learn martial arts quickly and easily. Seeing this, Ino takes Ichiro away from his grandfather's house to save him and awaken his human soul. The night after Ichiro leaves with Ino, his grandfather's house is robbed and burned by the robbers. While trying to escape, Ichiro meets the robber and kills him by strangling him without hesitation. This killing behavior is unlike Ichiro's usual actions, which are only carried out upon receiving orders. After Irishu's death at his house, Ichiro disappears. Shortly after this incident, several criminals, including robbers, murderers, and rapists, are found murdered. The detectives determine that Ichiro is responsible for killing several criminals. Haya deduces that Ichiro is not the suicide bomber from the previous bus incident, but is instead attempting to kill the real culprit. Mariko continues to observe Ichiro and tells him that 8 years ago, her sister was found murdered with her eyebrows and hair shaved off. The perpetrator of the murder was Shimura, who Ichiro met in the observation room earlier. Mariko tries to convince Ichiro that he is not actually a murderer. Later, Ichiro is transported to prison by car. He frees himself from his handcuffs with a clip and grabs Hirono, who is in front of him, as a hostage. Haya, who is nearby, tries to rescue Hirono from the threat. Suddenly, Midorikawa and Yuria are seen riding a motorbike and trying to catch up to Ichiro's car. Midorikawa and Yuria shoot arrows at the police car escorting Ichiro, causing an accident and traffic chaos. Ichiro notices the arrival of Midorikawa and Yuria and orders the bus to stop. The two girls take one of the policemen hostage and demand that Ichiro come out. They say that they want to pick up Ichiro. Ichiro gets out of the prison car and immediately shoots Midorikawa. Before she falls, Midorikawa presses the detonator, causing a bomb that she had previously planted in another police car to explode. Yuria survives the attack and escapes on her motorbike. As a result of the attack, Hirono is hospitalized. Mariko, who is at the hospital, is suddenly attacked by Yuria while in the toilet. After the attack, the hospital lights go out and a bunch of explosions destroy parts of the hospital. When Mariko wakes up, she finds herself tied up in a room with bombs strapped to her body. This was done by Midorikawa in an attempt to provoke Ichiro's presence. Midorikawa has planted bombs in every hospital pipeline. While this is happening, more explosions occur in another part of the hospital. Haya and other police officers are investigating the location of another bomb when Ichiro suddenly states that bombs have been planted in all parts of the hospital. He then says that he is going to the control room. Haya suspects that Ichiro is the mastermind of the explosions, but agrees to escort him to the control room as requested. When they arrive at the control room, they find Hirono strapped to a chair with bombs tied to his body. Midorikawa calls Haya and threatens to set off another bomb if Ichiro is not killed. Haya says he has a bomb disposal team and doesn't need to comply, but the bomb disposal team is apparently taken out by an unexpected bomb attack. Haya then fights Ichiro, and Hirono tries to intervene but falls and causes the bombs attached to him to explode, killing him. Ichiro escapes Haya and goes to meet Midorikawa. Midorikawa tries to kill Ichiro with her car, but Ichiro's super strength allows him to survive the attacks. However, despite his superhuman abilities, Ichiro has a limit and his body can no longer continue to survive the attacks. Inside the car, Ichiro sees the sadness in Midorikawa's eyes as she continues to try to kill him. Midorikawa tries to detonate a bomb that was planted on Mariko's body, but before she can press the button, she is shot by Haya. Haya approaches Midorikawa and shoots her multiple times. Haya points his gun at Ichiro, but when he tries to shoot, he realizes that he has run out of bullets. Ichiro leaves Haya and Mariko, seemingly injured. Later, Shimura is seen walking in the rain, carrying a package, and approaching a house. Mariko, who is sitting by her laptop, receives a message from Ichiro warning that someone is going to kill her most important patient. She runs to Shimura's house and finds his room in the dark. When she calls out his name, she discovers Shimura's dead body. Mariko is shocked by the discovery and thinks she hears something. Mariko discovers the source of the sound and finds a child hiding in Shimura's bathtub. Shimura had been planning to make the child his next victim. Mariko contacts Ichiro and asks how he knew that Shimura would kill again. Ichiro says he saw bite marks on Shimura's new arm at their meeting and that Shimura had been using him to be free. Mariko asks why Ichiro saved her and the little boy, and Ichiro says that Mariko was the first person to cry for him and he wanted to thank her. Ichiro then hangs up the phone and seems to smile sincerely. The moral of the story is that human emotions are important and that even if someone has superpowers, they are useless without feelings.